Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to Japan once again, and this is one of the beers that I brought back with me from my recent trip over there. And for this one we are going to return to Osaka, to one of my favourite Japanese craft breweries. So we're going to have a taste of another beer from Minoh Beer, and this is one of their kind of core range beers that they do, and it's one that I've just never got around to trying, because I have seen this one quite a lot when I've been over in Japan, and I tend to pick the beers that are a little bit more difficult to find. But this one is the W-IPA. It's a double IPA coming in at 9% ABV, so it is a little bit of a monster actually. So yeah, this one's brewed with Cascade hops according to the front of it, and as you'll know if you've watched the channel and you enjoy my Japanese beer reviews, this is a brewery that I've had some very good experiences with in the past. So really looking forward to this one, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Minoh Beer before. No doubt we'll add some more in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Japanese beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Minoh Beer then. So the other thing I should point out about this brewery at the very start of the review is that the parent company of this brewery is AGI Beer Incorporated. So yeah, a lot of these little craft breweries that you'll find in Japan do have a parent company that tends to be part of a bigger organisation. But basically the name Minoh comes from the city Minoh, which is a little city within Osaka Prefecture, about 15 kilometres to the north of the centre of Osaka City. But this area of Osaka is very famous for the Meiji no Mori Quasi-National Park, which is one of the oldest in Japan actually, and also for the Katsuoji Buddhist temple, which is over 1200 years old. Very impressive actually. But the monkey symbol is often used by the brewery, and this is a reference to the monkey population that live in the national park. If you go up to Minoh, if you do find yourself in Osaka, I really recommend that you go and visit up there. It's just a beautiful part of Japan actually, and the waterfall is very nice, the park itself is very nice. Just go and have a look at it for yourself. It's one of these things that I would highly recommend that you do. It's a beautiful part of the country. But the Minoh brewery itself was established back in 1996, and it's owned by the Oshita family, who'd run an alcohol store for about 30 years before they opened up the brewery. But apparently the family went for dinner one night, and on the way home Papa Oshita pointed to a building and then told his daughters that they would be brewing beer in here soon, and he'd actually bought a brew kit from New Zealand and rented out the building for them to start brewing in. But the brewery's now run by the family's three daughters. So Kaori and Mayuko founded the brewery, and now their younger sister has joined them. So Kaori is the eldest sister, and she's the head brewer, and she trained initially at a brewery in Kobe before going to the National Research Institute of Brewing, the RNIB, in East Hiroshima. And Kaori says that she actually just learned a lot on the job, and she's constantly tweaking her recipes, and she credits Nakanishi of Isakadoya as a great mentor. Isakadoya of course are one of the other Japanese craft breweries that you really need to check out. Again, they're doing some really awesome beers. But the brewery apparently had a bit of an uphill struggle when they started, because many of the little Jibiru breweries were going bust in the late 1990s, and public opinion really wasn't that great about these local beers. But Minoh have gone on to become one of the most decorated craft breweries in Japan, and they're probably, in fairness, one of the more recognisable Japanese craft beer names abroad these days. But they also run at the Beer Belly pubs in Osaka as well, and from what I understand, these guys are exporting a little bit over to America, but generally it is still quite difficult to find their beers outside of Japan. Japan, for a country that is so advanced in many ways, their distribution network when it comes to things like wine and sake and craft beer and stuff like that really is pretty bad actually. It's quite disappointing. You can find some really real gems of craft beers over there and sakes and stuff like that, but sometimes they just just won't even make it outside of their own prefecture. It really is a terrible shame, because the Japanese are very, very good at, at producing alcohol, which is, never a bad thing. But yeah, very, very interesting brewery, this one. Really really highly regarded in the Japanese craft beer circles. And over the last 2 years, actually, since I was in Japan, just before the time that I've just been back in 2016, there's been a hell of a lot of progress on the craft beer front, but they did have some very, very good breweries the last time I was there, but there's a lot more little breweries have popped up since then. So yeah, very, very cool. So with this one then, this is one of their core range. Like I said, they've got a couple of different beers in there, but they do a number of different seasonal beers as well, which is very nice. But this is yet another beer that I brought from liquor shop Asahiya in Taishibashi Maichi in Osaka. Make sure you check out the Facebook link to them in the description below as well, and Koji there is very, very helpful, and he always gets in some very interesting beers. But yeah, I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork of this one before we open up. There you can see it is the typical core range artwork that you can expect from Minoh. All the different beers have a very kind of similar roundel to this, just different colours depending on what beer it is. And yeah, it says on the front here, created locally in Minoh, Osaka to an award-winning recipe. This strong ale is disentice bitter taste. I don't know if it's distinctive, that's meant to be, shaped from the copious aromatic cascade hops, balanced with a rich malt flavour, makes this beer enjoyable to drink. Not yet, English isn't perfect, but Japan and the quality of English sometimes can be a little bit of it can be a little bit strange. But yeah, there you go. On the bottle cap of this one, you can see the famous Minoh monkey. I'm just checking you're seeing that on the camera control, but there you can see the Minoh monkey. But yeah, nicely presented beer, this one. I do like these, the Minoh things. It is kind of very typically, it's a little bit like retro, kind of 90s, early 2000s sort of Japan, this one. Some of the artwork that you get on these Japanese beers is very, very interesting. But yeah, without further ado then, let's get this guy out and we will get on with the tasting. Nice little bit of smoke on the opening then, and we'll get it out and into the glass. So yeah, the particularly interesting thing about this is, with the brewery of course, is to say that it's run by three sisters, which it's kind of very uncommon in Japan. Of course, Japanese society, it's more about the age you are, depending on what respect you're going to get in society, but it's not one of the more gender equal countries, so to have a craft brewery that's run by three sisters, I think, is pretty special actually. So just keep that in mind when you're trying some of the Minoh beers. The first kind of female-owned brewery, I guess, if you like, in Japan. I think that's some quite achievement. It's breaking down barriers and things like this. Brewing, chemistry, physics, maths and things like that, generally dominated by men. So it is cool when the women have a go at some of these things. But yeah, as you can see with this beer, it's poured. I can get rid of the brewery notes now. It's poured a very, very nice sort of dark, kind of ebony rosewood colour. Well, not ebony rosewood, I think it's more of a dark sort of, it's almost a chestnutty colour, this one, but at the same time, if I hold it up to the light, it's a very kind of dark amber colour there. It's definitely one of the darker IPAs in terms of its colour that I've come across in recent times. If I put my fingers behind the glass there, you can see that it's it is pretty hazy, this one. There's not much in the way of transparency to it. I do have a few little bits of sediment just floating around in this one. There's a solid finger of a frothy, I would say creamy beige head on this one. It does look very, very nice, but the head is leaning a little bit more towards the beigey side of things. But yeah, not overly surprising in terms of its appearance when you consider it's an IPA. But definitely a little bit darker than some of the ones I've come across in recent times. That would indicate, when it comes to the IPA, it can be partly from the types of malts that they've used, but if you do get a bit of a darker colour, it can be due to the amount of boil time you use when you're actually boiling up the wort of this one. So yeah, that could be interesting. Maybe this is a slightly longer boil IPA compared to some other ones. So yeah, kind of interesting. If I remember rightly, it's usually about is it 70 or 80 minutes or so that you would use for a boil on an IPA, and if you take it up to 90, of course, you are going to start to get the darker darker browns out of this as the sugar's caramelised. But yeah, nice looking beer, this one, just a little bit darker compared to some of the other IPAs that I've had recently. So yeah, take a little look at it, but let's have a closer look at the aroma for this one and just see how we get on. Yeah, so with this one, what I'll say straight away is that this smells very, very fresh. You know, with this beer, there's a lot of piney resin to this one. It does seem to lean a little bit more towards the kind of resiny side of things. You know, in addition to the Cascade, I wonder if there's a little bit of Chinook or something in there just to complement it. But yeah, good little bit of pine resin coming out of this one. A little bit of a kind of spicy, floral aromatic note in there as well. But yeah, it does smell very, very fresh. There's almost like a kind of lemony, citrusy kind of thing in there too. But you can pick up a little bit of that distinctive grapefruity character that you'll always get from the Cascade. One of the beer styles that I've always really, really enjoyed actually was the you know, the Cascadian dark ales. I've always really, really enjoyed those. And when you get, you know, a kind of classic IPA, the one that comes to mind obviously is the likes of the Torpedo or the Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, you know, some of these really classic Californian IPAs. I do wonder if when you find something like this, that's what these guys are kind of modelling it from. I really wouldn't be surprised actually. You know, Itokodori in Japan and all that, taking in things that they really like from other countries and playing around with them. That, you know, it tends to be a thing. It was a thing in Japan for quite a long time, and it's still going on. But yeah, lovely bit of grapefruity character to this one. Definitely a bit of grassy citrus in there as well. Some nice bready notes in there. A little bit of a kind, definitely a little bit of a slightly sweet caramel in there, a little bit of biscuit, but a nice kind of smooth and quite sweet smelling malt base in there as well. But in terms of an IPA, or a double IPA, I guess this one would be, you know, it's got everything you would want in terms of aroma. It's leaning a little bit more towards the grassy, floral side of things, but it does have a little bit of a fruity note in there as well. But there is a good malt presence underneath if you take the aroma in enough, and I always recommend that when you're trying new beers. Take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma before you actually taste the beer itself. But without further ado, let's have a taste of this one then. So this one is the W-IPA, a double IPA coming in at 9% ABV from Minoh Beer, part of AGI Beer Incorporated, from Minoh, lovely part of Osaka Prefecture over in Japan. Let's get stuck in. Slanja, Skål, Kampai. Yeah, that's a nice beer. I'll say straight away, this is a nice beer, so, you know, big thumbs up to the guys at Minoh Beer for this one. They've definitely done a good job with this. It's quite different compared to some of the other IPAs that I've had, but in my mind, you know, this one definitely strikes me as a little bit of a kind of, is it right to call it a retro IPA? You know, it's definitely one of these kind of old school ones that takes you back a couple of years, you know, to like 2009, 2010, when I really first started tasting craft beers. This one, it's very well done. You know, I'm definitely wondering, in addition to the Cascade that's in there, I'm wondering if there's a little bit of, you know, a Chinook as well. I was wondering that in the aroma, but this beer, it definitely has a hell of a lot of, you know, dark piney resins to it, and you know, I've never come across a hop that puts them across in a way like this other than the Chinook. I think there is a little bit of Chinook in here with this one. I definitely wouldn't be surprised about that. But yeah, that's a damn good beer, I have to say. You know, I like this one. It's definitely one of these kind of nostalgic IPAs, and it's always good to drink these. You know, there's so many different hops and things coming out these days. You know, Enigma seems to be one that's becoming really popular. Galaxy, Mosaic, you know, Citra, of course, is another really one. But to go back to, you know, the kind of more simple times when it was the likes of Cascade and stuff like this, is always quite refreshing too. It's always nice to have things that are just a little bit of a kind of change of pace. And you know, this beer certainly doesn't disappoint. If you like the likes of the Torpedo from Sierra Nevada, or even, you know, just the Pale Ale, this one of course is a little bit of an amped up version of that. If you do enjoy the Torpedo from Sierra Nevada, I think this probably could be the Japanese equivalent of the Torpedo. I think this one probably is just a little bit stronger than the Torpedo itself, though. But yeah, lovely tasting beer, this, so have a go at it for yourself. So yeah, with the malt base in this one then, I would say middle of your palate is kind of blanketed with this sort of smooth, bready character. It does, as the further into the aftertaste you go, it does get a little touch of a kind of grainy note to it. In the centre of your palate, you can definitely pick up a nice little bit of a caramelly brown sugar. For me, the brown sugar in this one is a little bit darker, and again, I'm wondering if that's a result of a longer boil, because, you know, as I say, I thought about this with the colour of this beer. I wondered if they were using a little bit of a longer boil in the brew with this, and that can, you know, it makes the sugars almost just caramelise a little bit. Definitely gives you a little bit more of a kind of darker colour in there, and from the way the flavours are coming across in this one, the brown sugars are just that little bit darker in this beer. But yeah, it definitely has a nice little bit of sweetness there. You can pick up that there's a little bit of boozy warmth in this one too. A little bit of a nice kind of sweet biscuity thing in there. As you move further out from the centre of your palate, I'm finding this one again is becoming just a little bit more kind of biscuity and grainy, but there's also almost just a little hint in the middle of your palate of a kind of medicinal sort of thing in there. There's almost, it's not quite phenol, but there is definitely just a little bit of this almost kind of cough syrupy, medical kind of medicinal flavour to this one. But, you know, as we always say, beer is medicine, especially for Scottish people. But yeah, I'm finding as well that the further into the flavour with this one you go, the more it kind of sweetens up a little bit. The malt base is gradually sweetening up rather, the further into the flavour that you go with this one. Let's just focus on the hops a wee bit then. We've talked a good little bit about the malt base with this one. So in the back corners of the palate you do have a little touch of earthiness there, but as you come further forward along the sides of the tongue, you do have quite a nice sort of dank kind of piney resin to this beer. There is a good chunk of piney resin in this one. Towards the front corners of the palate, it does become a little bit more like a sort of spicy, floral aromatic note, but this beer does have a big dankness to it, and I do suspect that there's a little bit of Chinook being used in this one. I could be convinced as well that there's a little bit of Columbus in there, just because of the way that the spicy floral aromaticity's in there, but I think it's more likely to be Chinook, and it's the grapefruit as well, the darkness of the grapefruit in this beer that's convincing me of that. Around the kind of front curve of the palate, it's definitely a little bit lighter and more grassy, and as I always say, behind the front curve of the palate you get that nice oily bubble where some of those juicy fruity esters really start to come out of the beer. And for me, this one's all about that grapefruit. It pretty much is. I don't think there's anything else really coming out of this one other than grapefruit. Yeah, I think there maybe is there could be a little touch of a slightly orangey note to this one, but I would say, you know, the more and more I drink of this, the more it leans towards that kind of dark grapefruit. It really is quite a dark kind of dank grapefruit that's coming out of this one, to be honest. It's just interesting. This is really one of the kind of more dank beers that I've come across, but I think there is a little touch of orange in here as well. The further, you know, the more into the aftertaste you go, you will get a little touch of orange out of this one. But it really is quite nice how this beer goes together. As I said at the start, if you like the likes of the Torpedo W-IPA from Sierra Nevada, then this is one I think you will enjoy, because it really is quite similar to that. So yeah, big thumbs up to Minoh Beer for how this one's turned out. This is, you know, I always think it's a good measure of a brewery. If you get a beer like this on the lighter side of the spectrum, but you also get something on the darker side of the spectrum that's very good, and their Imperial Stout is a very good quality beer as well. You know, these guys are just a very good brewery. There's no doubt in my mind about that. In terms of you know, being fruity and a little bit more kind of experimental, if you like, the things like their Boss Saru IPA and some of the other IPAs that they do with the monkey labels, they're a little bit more adventurous, their beers. This one's a bit more of a kind of old school retro sort of 2010-ish kind of IPA, or maybe even a little bit earlier than that, to be honest. As I say, the beer that this really reminds me of is Torpedo from Sierra Nevada. So yeah, if you like that one, have a go at this one if you get the chance. And as I said, their Imperial Stout is a pretty damn good beer as well. So yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel of this one, then I would say this beer is pretty full bodied. One of the things that you always have to say about Japanese beers as well is, regardless of what alcohol content they are, regardless of what style they are, they always do retain a little bit of that Japanese drinkability to them. So for me, this one's it's at the bottom end of full-bodied. Carbonation does have a little bit of a prickle to it. Again, that's all about the Japanese drinkability. It's got a good little bit of an oily character to it, this one, but at the same time it's a little bit wet. It's not such a thick, oily character that you get in this one. Good little bit of IBU in there, some nice sort of I would say it's around 70-80%, not 70-80%, 70 or 80 IBUs this. It does have a good hoppy hit to it, a big bit of a bitter blast in there, and it does take your mouth a little bit of time to adjust to that, and quite dank actually. Malt base has a good little bit of sweetness to it, and you've also got some nice juicy fruits in there. Really a lot of grapefruit from this one, but I think a little hint of orange too. But yeah, lovely beer this one, and it definitely reminds me of some of these kind of classic West Coast American IPAs. So if that's your thing, then I really do recommend that you have a go at this one. This is a really very nice beer, this. So have a go at it for yourself and just see what you think. And this is definitely one of the Japanese craft breweries that you have to check out, and they're definitely one of the more recognisable Japanese craft beer brands these days as well. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. It's been cool to return to my favourite Osaka brewery for this review, and I hope you guys have enjoyed my take on this one. So yeah, until the next time, thank you for watching. This was the W-IPA from Minoh Beer in Minoshi, if you like, in Osaka Prefecture in Japan. If you get the chance to go and visit there, I highly recommend that you do. A very beautiful part of the country, and there's also some really nice craft beers there, brewed by women as well, which is kind of unusual in Japan, and especially, you know, even as well in the craft beer world, you know, it is a male-dominated kind of thing, this. But a lovely IPA, this one. If you like Sierra Nevada Torpedo, this is one that you're definitely going to enjoy. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this one in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Minoh Beer as well, and I'm sure I'll return to these guys at some point in the fairly near future. But until the next time, it's Landry just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Make sure you check out the link to Koji at Liquor Store Asahiya and Taishibashi Maichi Osaka, and do make sure you have a go at some of these Minoh beers when you get the chance. It's Landry, Skull, Kampai.